Waiting for us. We were out a little later than we wanted to be, but we are going to reconvene this open session for the Washington Unified School District regular Board of Education meeting for February 23rd, 2023. We are going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and if our student board member, Christopher Campos, would lead us in the pledge. We'll just Thank you. And now for our roll call, Vice President Wong. Hello. And because Vice President Wong is teleconferencing, the votes tonight will be roll call votes. Clerk Coffey.
Present.
Trustee Venegas.
Present.
And Trustee Pizzotti.
Present.
Thank you. Okay. That takes us to announcement of action taken in closed session. Government Code 54956.9, pending or potential litigation, approval of compromise agreement and general release between Washington Unified School District and parent for the 2022-2023 school year. Action was taken. 2, Government Code Section 54957, public employee discipline, dismissal, release. A, action Government Code 44591, adoption resolution number 2223-57 to release and or reassign probationary teachers, non-reelection. No action was needed. 3, Government Code Section 54957.6, conference with labor negotiators, WSTA, CSEA, and management. Information was received and direction was given. And 4, Government Code Section 54957, public employee superintendent progress goals, information was received. And that takes us to approval of the agenda. Are there any changes on the agenda?
Yes, I would like to request that we remove item on the consent agenda. It would be item 2E. We want to provide some clarity and have some further discussion, so we're asking to table that at this time.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other changes? Okay, can I have a motion to approve with the consent 2E pulled from the agenda?
I move.
I second.
Okay, so we have Trustee Venegas moves and Vice President Wong seconds, and we have to do a roll call vote. So Vice President Wong?
Aye.
Trustee Venegas?
Aye.
Clerk Coffey?
Aye.
And Trustee Pizzotti?
Aye.
Oh, and our student board member, if you would like to vote as well, Christopher Campos.
Aye.
President Kirby Gonzalez, may I confirm that the item being pulled was item O, 2E, because we said 2E, so I just wanted to double check.
Yes,
From the
consent
agenda.
2E, yes.
Thank you.
All right, we do not have communications, celebrations this evening. We have our association reports and our student board member, Christopher Campos from Yolo High School. Welcome.
Good evening, Board, Superintendent, Hildreth, Cabinet, and community guests. I'm Christopher Campos, and I'll be doing the student board report. At Bridgeway Islands, they've been doing a book club boost and also Crest Club where they do stop motion animations, and they also have kindness challenge where they have a bingo sheet and they check off everything that they do on there and they can get a prize in the office. At Riverbank, they've been having fun doing the I Love Math night. At Southport, they've been having the duck pond participation where they would showcase school pride and also student talent. Next slide, please. At Stonegate, third graders are learning parts of a flower. Yeah, parts of the flower, and also learning how to spread and share love and kindness with sending messages to other students. Next slide, please. In Virtual Academy, their month, February trait is team player. And they've been doing a parent survey, and they've been getting a lot of good feedback. And they're also looking forward to they're also looking forward to in-person learning on February 28th, and also Read Across America on March 3rd. Next slide, please. In Evergreen Elementary Opportunity, the class attendance have been very high up due to great engagement in the lessons from the best teacher, Mr. C. And yeah, next slide, please. In Washington Adult Ed, they wanted to give a big shout out to Miss Michaela for getting a lot of new students enrolled in the Opportunity Program. And also the students are learning new skills. Next slide, please. In Yolo High School, we all wanted to give a thanks to Superintendent Dr. Hildreth for, Dr. Hildreth and Dr. Burns for student advisory today in what was it? Third period. And they also wanted to give a big thanks to Mr. King for having representatives from Sac City come through and help students with their FAFSA. Next slide, please. At River City, they've had a 8th grade parent night where they had, 8th grade parent night, and they wanted to give a big thanks to staff, coaches, teachers for making this possible and making it a very successful night. Next slide, please. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. As a student board member, you're welcome to stay, and you can give input on any of the items that you would like. This evening, we have our charter updates for oversight and some action items later in the agenda.
All right. I'll be choosing to leave. Thank you.
Okay.
Have a good night. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Christopher.
Thank you.
I'll be choosing to leave.
All right.
Mic drop.
We appreciate you. Have a good evening.
Good job, though, mijo.
And we have our WSTA report with President Doug Knapp.
I'll be choosing to leave as well. Might be a relief to some folks tonight. All right. Good evening, Cabinet, Superintendent Hildreth, President Kirby Gonzalez, Vice President Wong, and trustees. Clerk Coffey. It's good to see you all tonight. Good news, I'm not as grumpy today. I want to talk a little bit about my message last meeting and thank some members for reaching out, some of the trustees for reaching out in an attempt to create better communication. We're planning 2x2s with Trustee Coffey and Trustee Kirby Gonzalez. I've had some dialogue with Trustee Pizzotti, as we always have. And I'll be reaching out Trustee Alvarez and Trustee Wong, Vice President Wong, so that we can start regular meetings as well. So thank you for hearing me. I also wanted to let folks know that currently I have release days on Fridays. And if there's availability to set up meetings on those days, I will dedicate whatever time I need to make sure that the concerns of my members are heard by the Board of Trustees. In all the rigmarole over the last few board meetings, I failed to mention something that's extremely important, and that is that on one of my release Fridays, I happened to be at River City meeting with members, and that was a day where we had a lockdown event. And I just wanted to commend everybody involved, the administration, River City staff, the students. I can't imagine it going any smoother or being handled any better. It's not a situation that we like to see, and I can certainly see the trauma on the students' faces afterwards. But it is, I want the community to hear and understand that this district takes those situations extremely seriously, and the conduct that I saw from professionals at River City was outstanding on all counts. On that note, I want to talk a little bit about student safety and teacher safety with student behavior. I'm sure you're all aware that post-COVID, we've had an increase in incidents of extreme student behavior on campuses. Luckily, we're looking at the whole child these days, and we're not just ready to suspend students, because we know that suspension statistically does not work. However, in our movement away from suspensions and towards restorative practices, there's kind of a vacuum because most schools don't have restorative systems, infrastructure, facilities, or even staffing set up. And I would like to say that every teacher that you talk to, if you go and visit sites, will feel that very deeply. And this impacts our students greatly, because we don't have solutions. We just kind of rotate them on through. And what you're seeing is repeated incidents of extremely concerning and violent behavior that just kind of, you know, we rotate these kids in and out of the classrooms, and there's not really any meaningful response to it, although I know we're working on it. But I would urge, as the district has worked really hard to get restorative coordinators, social justice coordinators, and those sorts of things, the infrastructure required to be able to utilize the techniques involved in restorative practices, we don't have it yet. And as we're looking at our strategic plan, we need to find a way to implement those systems sooner rather than later, or we're going to have more and more serious situations occurring at our campuses. And I can tell you, because I've had some in my classroom, and I teach first grade, you should never have safety issues in a first grade classroom, and it's happening across the district. So. And on the same note of campus safety, there's a couple of other items. One, I think, is probably, I'm not sure where this is coming from, and it's obviously not some kind of intentional move, but I talked to Superintendent Hildreth about this yesterday. I have members at several sites, some, I'm not going to name the ones that are like more glaring, that are talking about not having both administrators on campus a lot more this year. I think the district is working really hard to send administrators to professional development, which we commend, but teachers are feeling a vacuum, and they're feeling like, they're feeling a little bit like there's a safety risk because there's incidents happening at schools when there's not coverage. So I think Superintendent Hildreth plans to look into that a little bit, because again, it might just be a matter of staggering schedules when we're doing trainings or something, but I did want to pass that forward. And then another issue that I think affects safety is, again, the continual lack of substitute teachers. We're seeing that everywhere still, and I know there's been a mass effort to try and fill that void. But when we don't have experienced, trained professionals in our classrooms, we see more risk at school. And Assistant Superintendent Panu and I have been talking a lot, because both of us see the need to make sure that leave time is being taken appropriately. So I'm looking at that at my end and encouraging members to make sure that they're using their leave appropriately, but also making sure that we have substitutes. I'd like to say that we have a massive shortfall in substitutes for paras for our SDC program, our preschool SDC program, and the energy of our preschool SDC teachers is it's like leaking like a sieve right now. So I'd really like to work on addressing that. I want to celebrate where we're headed with our community schools meetings. I've been able to attend the first two community schools group, and it's been really good. We've heard really amazing ideas from community members. I would also like to say it's great to see WUSD reaching out to the community. I know that reach out is happening, but I think a lot of people don't know, so I want to make sure that it's publicly announced. Like when you go to a site, even if everybody in the community doesn't need to know that you're going there, because we don't need everybody to show up, we need that community, but I think it's really good for transparency to have that schedule really broadly listed when we're going to discuss community schools, so that the community can see that the community is involved in creating the community school, because that's the whole point, right? it can't be perceived that it's top-down. And I really, from my perspective, I'm not seeing a top-down from what we're doing right now, but we just want to make sure that that is transparent. I'd like to encourage, I've been talking to HR and Ed Services about this, but I just want to bring it to the attention of the board. In the effort to meet our strategic goals as a part of our strategic plan for professional development, I wanted to reach out. There are several professional development opportunities through CTA that WSTA endorses members to go to, and they're non-political, they're apolitical. So like the Equity and Human Rights Conference on March 17th and the New Educator Conference on March 10th. We'd like to reach out to the district to see if there can be any kind of collaboration so we can send more people to these amazing conferences, especially our new teachers and in our work in equity. So I'm putting that out there in hopes that we can encourage more collaboration, because our association and WUSD have been doing a really good job collaborating in the last couple of years. And then finally, I did this last year for Stacy Tran, but I wanted to acknowledge a member of the cabinet who I see being a quiet workhorse and doing an amazing job, and that would be Mr. Matt Ainsworth. I'm just really, really impressed by his commitment to communication, what he's doing with our professional learning, the development of our professional learning program in our district. People are really happy with it, and just the general sense of collaboration. So thank you very much, Matt. It doesn't go unnoticed, even though I'm like spitting fire and brimstone most of the time. I want to acknowledge some good effort. Thank you.
Thank you. And our CSEA report, which is President Gandara.
Good evening, Superintendent Hildreth, President Kirby Gonzalez, and trustees, cabinet. The update I want to start with tonight is I want to thank you guys for pulling the community schools coordinator position for further discussion. CSEA feels that this position should be a classified position as it aligns directly with youth outreach specialists. I know the district says that anybody can apply, but that is not true, because once you apply and you don't have a valid teaching credential, you just disqualified yourself. So that's not true. Hold on, shut off. The other thing is, I know we had a meeting yesterday with HR, and they also told us that this, to create this description, that they sat down with the director of equity, and together they pulled information from other districts. Well, it turns out that the benchmarks that they used is actually a classified position from another district. So again, why is this position not a classified position? And that's the concerns we have, and we look forward to sitting down with human resources, whoever it may be, to discuss these. The other topic I have is side letters. So I first want to thank, as you guys know, we filed a grievance earlier, a few months back, on Article 7.2, and Superintendent Hildreth got involved, and we're able to come to a resolution. And currently we're negotiating a side letter for Article 7.2 of this grievance. My concern is, why is the district not interested in creating other side letters with CSEA? Earlier this year, we created an MOU for the Summer Assistance Program. And just recently, I know an email went out yesterday, but we wanted to create a side letter for Juneteenth, in which Human Resources response was that the district was not interested in working on a side letter. We're not sure why. You're interested in working on a side letter when it was a grievance a week ago, and we agreed to something to create the side letter. The response was that the CBA is closed and the district's not interested in reopening the CBA for any reason. Well, we're not reopening the CBA. We're creating a side letter. And later on in the year, probably next year, when we start negotiating the CBA, those could be discussed. But it's not reopening and renegotiating the CBA. And I mean, I may be wrong, but is the district doing side letters with the other bargaining unit throughout the year? I'm not sure, but I would like to know. And if they are, what's the difference between CSEA and WSTA? And then to speak on what Doug was talking about not having substitute teachers, that is currently affecting our paraeducators. I know 2 sites for sure, and I will forward the board the emails where my paraeducators don't have a certificated teacher in classrooms for extended periods of time. I'm not too familiar with WSTA's CBA, but isn't the site admin supposed to step in and do something at that point? So that's also a concern of not having certificated substitutes because it's affecting my paraeducators. And then to go off President Knapp's speech last meeting, I would like to thank President Kirby Gonzalez and Trustee Coffey. I know we're working on a 2x2. The frustrating point is it shouldn't have to take what happened last meeting for this to happen. I know we talked about it, CSEA, WSTA, in a board update. I want to say November, December, whenever that last Room 75 board meeting was, we talked about it. And I know we communicate well with each other on individual levels, but I think having a sit down where CSEA as well as WSTA will get to bring our issues that we see directly to you and not in this platform, you know, because this is kind of restricted here, this platform. I think that'd be a good thing. And with that, I want to thank you guys, and you guys have a good evening.
Okay, thank you. That now takes us to our public comments, and I will read our disclaimer. We do have public comments this evening. Apologize, my computer closed up. Okay, so as a reminder, at our regular board meeting held on February 9th, the board resolved the written public comments received by 3 p.m. on the day of the meeting will be provided to the board, but not read into record during the meeting. And we did not receive any today by 3 p.m. or by the close. Members of the public may address the board on topics of our board agenda during every meeting. In addition, during regular meetings, the public may also address any topic within the jurisdiction of the board. Please know the board is listening to your comments, but by law cannot meaningfully respond in this forum to items not on the agenda. The board may limit the total time for the public input on any topic to 20 minutes unless it waives the item limit for an item. Individual speakers may be limited to 3 minutes to comment on any topic. The board respects the right of members of the public to speak regarding matters within its jurisdiction. However, please recognize that comments regarding students other than the speaker's own children made during a public board meeting may be a violation of the student's rights to privacy, and thus the speaker may be legally liable. If you reference a student's name other than your own student, you may be deemed out of order. Furthermore, it's important for the public to understand that negative or derogatory comments made against district employees or others, even those made in a public board meeting, may be actionable civil defamation. Although the board may not prohibit such comments, board policy allows the public to lodge complaints against the district employees, providing more opportunity to be heard than is allowed under the open meeting law that governs this meeting. Okay, thank you. And with that, our first public comment is Nakiba Gregory.
Hello. One of the things I want to talk about today is about sub-recruitment. I think that we really need to reach out into our community. If we reach out into our community instead of just going to different job fairs, I think we'll get more buy-in, and our students will get more buy-in with our subs as well. So if we could reach out to students, past students that have gotten their degree, or I don't know what, if we have changed that format for getting subs at the moment, but if we can reach out for some of those past students, even on social media, some of our parents, if our parents were working in the rooms, I think that that would help a lot too. Something I said last time, I thought about it afterwards and I felt kind of bad that I had said it that way. When I was talking about student behavior being bad in our classrooms, it's not just bad in our classrooms. It is across the state, it's across the nation, it's everywhere. And when I'm from Riverbank, I'm not talking about Riverbank, I'm talking about everywhere. So I wanted to make sure that everybody understood that that was very clear, that it's broad speaking. But I really think if we reach out to our community, we're going to be able to get some more subs. I do think that we need to offer trainings. We need to have in-depth trainings for our subs, and even having subs come in and work with the teachers, kind of like an aid to see how the classroom functions, how we do things, that it would make things a lot easier. We would have a better buy-in from our students and from the whole community. I think that that is one of the things that we really need to look at. And we also need to increase our student teachers and all across our schools. We have a very diverse population. It is a perfect place for teachers to kind of see what's available out there. One of the things I really loved about this community and why I chose this district is that they used to be able to let you have, if you had an idea, they'd let you run with it. You know, that it was not so top down, it was very, bottom up, that you could bring up. I'd like to see that a little bit more autonomy in the classroom where the teachers are able to make some decisions to address their kids. And one thing I really saw that was wonderful this week is that at Riverbank we had Sammy Circuit come out. That was such a good use of money. Those kids had a great time having fun, being very active. Every kid that came out of there had such a great time. I did put some pictures on social media. And I am the newly elected NEA Board of Director for Northern California. And so I want to let you know that I will be lobbying in Washington for education and bringing the information back to you so that we can make West Sac, as a productive educational system, and anything that you want to share with me so that we can bring that forward, I would like to do that. Thank you. And I would like to add, I agree about Matt. He's amazing. And I feel the same thing about Jay Burns. I love that innovative type of thinking outside the box and always being positive. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Next, we have Maria Garcia, and this will be interpreted by Mario Miramontes.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm going to ask if we can put them all right on the side. That's our problem. And they'll get you.
Buenas tardes. Venimos representando al Comité de Padres. Los temas son la seguridad y los clubs, y es un tema delicado y sin ofender y con mucho respeto a todas las personas. Cuando nos referimos a la seguridad, nos referimos a la supervisión directa de nuestros niños en las escuelas, no a que los mantengan seguros de sus propios padres. Supervisión directa de los niños dentro de la cafetería, el gimnasio, playground y periodos de cambio de clases. Muchos de los comportamientos de los niños es el resultado de la falta de personal, maestros, sustitutos de maestros, capacitados que puedan ayudar a resolver ese comportamiento. Necesitamos más maestros, sustitutos de maestros, mentores, tutores en persona. Campus Aid, Yard Duties y sustitutos de Campus Aid y Yard Duties, capacitados, bien pagados, con buenas horas de trabajo. Necesitan invertir en nuestros niños, en el cuidado directo. Sobre el tema de los clubes de alianza de género y sexualidad, nos preguntamos por qué no han notificado a las familias sobre los clubes que se están formando dentro de nuestras escuelas con nuestros niños. Clubes de alianzas de género y sexualidad dentro de los campos de la escuela sin notificar a los padres, sin un permiso de autorización para un menor de edad. ¿No se dan cuenta que están sobrepasando el punto que representa la familia? Al esconder lo que hacen, solo nos dejan saber que sí están conscientes de lo que están haciendo con nuestros niños. Si lo esconden es porque saben que los padres no están de acuerdo con lo que están haciendo. Sí, señores, y ahora las escuelas están enseñando a nuestros niños a mentir, a ocultar a sus padres lo que están aprendiendo dentro de las escuelas. En las escuelas se deben de dedicar a enseñar a leer, a escribir, matemáticas, inglés, historia, geografía, ciencia, lenguas extranjeras, química, física, biología y reforzar lo que el niño aprende en casa. En casa es donde los niños aprenden a decir buenos días, por favor, lo siento, discúlpame, me equivoqué. También en casa aprenden a ser honestos, ser puntuales, no insultar, a respetar la higiene personal, no tomar lo que no es suyo, organizar, respetar reglas y costumbres y sobre todo amar a Dios. Y con todo lo que aprenden en casa se respeta al individuo, se respeta la vida, la libertad y la propiedad de todos. Sí, señores, señoras, con toda esta ideología están enfermando a nuestros niños y pidiendo más dinero para la salud mental después de que los están enfermando. Ya basta. Nosotros los padres exigimos respeto a las familias y a la niñez. Desde este momento, nosotros los hacemos responsables a todos y cada una de las personas que trabajan para el distrito de Washington Unified School y a los representantes del School Board de todo lo que les pueda pasar a nuestros niños dentro de las escuelas. Nuestros niños no son para experimentos sociales ni de ningún tipo. Gracias por su tiempo.
Good afternoon. I'm here representing the Committee of Parents. The themes of security and clubs, it's a very delicate theme, and without offending and with respect to everybody, when we are referring to security, we are referring to the supervision, direct supervision of our children at schools. Not that you're going to have our kids secure from the parents. Supervision, direct supervision to the children in the cafeteria, gym, playground, during recess, etc. Much of our behavior of our children is the result of the misbehaviors. It's a result of lack of personnel, teachers, substitutes of teachers that are capable of being able to resolve these problems, of these behavior problems. We need more teachers, substitute teachers, mentors, in-person tutors, camp aides, yard duties, substitutes in the campus, and yard duties, and that are with the capability and well paid to, and with plenty of work hours. We need to invest in our children and have a direct supervision or direct care of our children. Regarding the theme of clubs of Alianza, or regarding sexuality and gender, thank you for allowing me to go over. We have to ask ourselves, why isn't the school notifying the parents that these clubs exist or are happening? These are forming that are forming inside our schools and that are forming our kids. In other words, these programs are forming our kids. The Club de Alianza, the gender and sexuality in campus is happening without notifying parents properly. without a permission slip or authorization for a minor. You're not seeing that you are overstepping your boundaries in respecting the family. And she's referring to a child's innocence here. By hiding what you guys are doing, it's showing us that what you're hiding is that you don't want us to see what you're teaching our children. If you're hiding it, it's because you're doing something wrong. Thank you. ¿Sí? ¿Esta otra más? Yes, sir. Now, the schools are teaching our children to lie and to the parents about what in other words, about their own gender and what's happening inside their own sexuality, and they're teaching the children not to tell the parents that they might not be normal. The schools should dedicate themselves to the 3 R's. To teach reading, writing, mathematics, English, history, geography, science, international languages, chemistry, physics, biology, and to reinforce what the child learns at home. At home, it's where children learn to say, good morning, please, I'm sorry, excuse me, I did something wrong. Also at home, we all learn to be honest, to be punctual, not to offend, to respect. We learn personal hygiene, not to take things that are not ours, to organize, to respect, and the customs of other people, and above all, to love God. And with all that we learn at home, we respect the individual. We respect life, liberty, and the property of everyone. And in Spanish, we actually have a very, that's a saying of a very famous Indian, Benito Juarez. That was his famous words. Yes, sir. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. With all this ideology about sickness among our children and you folks asking for more money for mental health after you go and you mess them up with this ideology that you guys are presenting by introducing sex education early is what she's trying to refer to. Ya basta, I mean, enough, That's enough of us parents demanding respect for families, and she's demanding respect for families and for the innocence of children. ¿Hay otra más? Okay. Okay, I'm trying to not take from her message. From this moment forward, I hold all of you responsible, and each person that works within the district, the Washington Unified School District, and the representatives of the school board, of everything that happens to our children inside our schools. Our children are not social experiments of any type. Thank you for your time. Ahora sí. Gracias. Ahora sí. Esta parte va a ser para mí.
Okay, our next public comment is Maria Garcia, or Grijalva, I'm sorry.
Good evening, school board members. I am just here to support the parents today. I am very concerned about our ongoing violence at school. There's actually programs out there that really, really work, and one of them is from Dr. Raj, his mentoring program. I think you're familiar with it, thank you. And so there's really, really programs that are effective. I got a call from a parent that her teenager had been hit, and that there was violence, and I'm this is in not Riverbank, Elk Grove, but I am assuming that you're filing police reports for every single incident. I'm going to assume that, because if not, you're actually not following proper protocol, because you should be filing police reports for everyone, for every single incident when a child is touched. The parent has the right, and I think the parent told me that the school principal discouraged her from filing a police report. And of course, I'm the first one to file a police report. So please be aware of the liability that is creating when you don't institute programs that work. Dr. Raja implemented his mentoring program at Grant High School within 90 days, zero violence. Okay, 90 days. And so I just want to reintroduce that program to you, because you might have heard about it and you maybe have not. I know I've told you about it, but maybe you guys don't want the fighting to stop. Maybe there's a payoff here by not stopping the violence, okay? We wouldn't have to put so many kids in juvenile hall or on probation and other things like that. The probation officers wouldn't have as many jobs, and that theory and all that. I mean, that's the only other conclusion that one would have if you don't implement a program that works. And so I'm here to support the parents. And just for the record, for those that are not familiar with me, I am Maria Grijalva, Latino Information and Resource Center. I brought district elections to the school board and to city council. I am your District 2 parent advocate and advocate representative of District 2. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comment?
No other public comment requests?
Thank you. Okay, then that.
Hi. Sí, so I'll say it in Spanish first, and then I'll say it in English. Sí puedo pedirle al equipo y al superintendente que por favor se comuniquen con la señorita María para schedule a meeting para que se junten y hablen. And I'm just asking the Superintendent Hildreth to just go ahead and connect. And I know there's a language barrier there, and just so that there could be some understanding, felt the frustration, and just want to make sure that that's taken care of.
Yes, we will follow up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That takes us now to our information discussion items. And first up, we have Sacramento Valley Charter School annual update presentation. And from our staff, we have Monique Stovall, our Assistant Superintendent of Business Services. And welcome.
Good evening. This evening, we are having our first information item, which is a presentation from one of our charter schools, Sacramento Valley Charter School, and this is their annual update from Dr. Singh.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, President Kirby Gonzalez, and Vice President Wong, and Superintendent Hildreth. So thank you for this opportunity, again, to present and your continued support for 12 years. We're in 12th year this year. So there's our mission, always creating challenging environment with social and family values. Next. So we implement standard-based curriculum and safe and compassionate learning environment, which is very critical, and fully certified staff, and which is a challenge as everyone expressed it. So we are in the same boat. We are facing the same problem. And so we try to connect with the community in order to support our mission. So growth over the year since last authorization. So this year we had the highest enrollment, 307. And this is our demographic. So we have the numbers given for each. So Asians are more 90%, but we have a lot of diversity in Asian population too. So like there are many languages represented in Asian population, and so even from Pakistan and Afghanistan, and many Asian countries. Next, please. So pandemic affected us all, and the younger students, elementary, were affected more than the older ones during virtual. So this is from School Digger. Our rank from 1146 out of 5,789 elementary schools slipped to 1349, 3.1% down. But for middle school, we just improved a little bit. But there are more schools in 21, 22. So 2.1% increase. Yes, next please. So this is exact demographic. So female 44% and 56% male, 90% Asian, African American 2.6, and Filipino, Hispanic about 5%, and EL students are like 35%, and 83 or 84% are socioeconomically disadvantaged. Next, please. So this is last year our Smarter Balanced CASP results. So total students 166 and 156 were tested, and overall in English is 68%. And among the female group, 76% met or exceeded, and male 61% met or exceeded. Overall Asian population 67%, African American 75%, Filipino 33%, and Hispanic 40%, and two or more races 100%, white 100%. So EL, we have 26% met or exceeded. So overall, socioeconomically disadvantaged, 66%. And next, please. So in math, overall, it's 53%, and among them, female 58, and male 49, and Asian 56, and African American 100%, and Filipino 33, Hispanic 40, and white 100%. So EL 20%, and socioeconomic disadvantage is 51%. Next, please. So this is from School Digger. So green is the state of California, and blue is Sacramento Valley Charter. So third grade on top is ELA and math. Third grade, fourth, fifth, and fifth CAST, science. So that is how science is more affected during the pandemic. Next, please. So this is our middle schools, ELA and math. And eighth grade, they took CAST, so they did better in science, 56%. Next, please. So the CCAST's exact score, 56%, Metro exceeded. Next, please. And this is 5th grade, 37%. So the younger grades are showing more effect of the pandemic. Next, please. So this is our total staff, 53, elementary teachers 11, middle school 5, and 3 language teachers, ELD 2, special education 1. Next. So this year, as we are facing extreme problem for substitutes and other teachers, certified teachers, it's a challenge again. So thinking we just improved for the next school year. So it's a, for new teachers, a 10,000 increase from the current year. And for the returning teachers, 11,000. So our salary is going to be 60 for the beginning teacher now. And with the stipends for masters and PhDs, 1,000 and 2,000. So longevity also we introduced in the last years, and retirement system. Yes, next please. So the currently SVCS matches 7% for 1.5, and next year is going to be for 4% contribution, 8% match. And 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 is for longevity, 5, 10, and 15 years. Next, please. So SVC has small class sizes, 17, 18, 20, 19, and this is how we are able to provide individualized help to our EL and special education and other subgroups. Yes, please. Next. So we constantly concentrate on professional development for the whole staff, and throughout the year, there are 6 days of professional development support given to our teachers. Next, please. So, so we fund some other services as it's a critical to get certified credential teacher in those areas. So we have available through SWET. We provide our physical fitness, which has been very successful throughout the year. We have been working with them, and so for ELL also. So we provide free transportation and no cost lunch to everyone. Special education is provided both by credentialed special education professionals and state-approved NPAs in coordination with El Dorado SELPA. Next, please. So we joined El Dorado SELPA in 2020, and so we have increased services, and but again, hiring credentialed teachers and speech pathologists, school psychologists, these areas we had to struggle a lot in order to get part-time teachers. Next, please. So World Language Punjabi, we have 3 credentialed teachers. So our program is based on research, and our World Language program is aligned with Common Core and GSS. So it mainly supports English language, ELL students, and mathematics, and even science. At the same time, they learn language. And next, please. So this is our SWET team. They regularly provide physical fitness to our students. So SWET is an independent contract that provides our students social, emotional, and physical fitness skills. Coaches provide strict training to our school's basketball and volleyball teams. Yes, next, please. So I would, first of all, express my big thanks to Matt Taylor, Superintendent Matt Taylor for Lighthouse Charter, who took a lead in organizing basketball league. And so for the first time, our school was exposed to play against some other schools. And it was highly welcomed by parents. And we are excited for the next year too. So we played, I think we won one match, first time it was with not much training. Though lost others, but students learned a lot. Thank you. So we have transportation. We have 2 bus loads from Elk Grove, and 2 buses full come from Natomas. And we have 3 vans also, which serve the West Sacramento area. And so all these drivers are full-time. We give them 8 hours because to keep them, they needed to be taken care of. So then we give them other jobs to perform during the day. So next, please. So we have a young team of robotics mentors, and they have been serving for the last 4 to 5 years now. And it's very popular with our students and parents. Next, please. So this year we introduced chess club and many other clubs, and some teachers, they take lead. And so we have a good number of students enrolled in these clubs. So next. So after school extended learning, so all those high need students are recommended after school free. And so they get help in homework completion and some other assignment which they find it hard to complete by themselves. Next, please. So we try our best to engage parents. For the first time, I think after 3 years, we had a STEAM night, and we didn't expect so many parents, but it was just like we didn't have any room to accommodate everyone. So, and it went off so well, and it was more than 2 hours, and hard to send the parents back home. It was so much interest. So we try to engage them through PTO meetings, site council meeting, and every month achievement award assemblies, STEAM night, multicultural night, which is going to happen in May. So with this, thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. First, I'll ask if we have any public comments.
No public comments?
Okay, then I will open this up to the school board for questions.
Thank you.
And you're welcome to stay because we might have some questions.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Trustee Pizzotti.
I have, I think, like 4 questions for you. I saw your pension, I guess it's like 401k, right?
Yeah, 401k.
And you
yeah.
do a match.
Yeah.
Can you walk me through that match again? Because it was up and then it was gone before I could write down my.
So teachers can, up to 3.5% currently, and we match 7%. For their $350, school matches $700, so the total is $1,050 in their account.
So a total of 10.5% max.
No match, we will say 1 to 2 ratio.
So what if the teacher wanted to add 7%?
7%, yeah. And for next year, it's going to be 8% for 4% contribution.
No, I'm saying, what if the teacher wanted to add 8%? If the teacher contributed 8%, you wouldn't match?
No, they are only required minimum is 4%. And our match is 8%.
And, okay, so then let me ask you a different question. Can you tell me why you guys do not participate in the PERS and STIRS?
I try to impress the board to opt for STIRS, but it's a board decision, and yeah.
And then what percentage of your students come from the West Sacramento area?
So we have around from 307, around 58 to 60 students.
So like a third maybe, or a little bit less than that?
Yeah, so I mean, we have not, refused anyone so far.
Oh, no, I'm not. I'm just wondering. I mean, it sounded, because you said you had bus loads coming from Elk Grove, where only van loads are coming from West Sacramento. So I was just.
So, I mean, we ran a bus also in West Sac for, I think, 2 months. And but it was empty most of the time. And
Okay.
so then there are a few number of students, and we thought the van gonna take that.
And then my last question is, substitutes have been an issue throughout, finding, eligible substitutes. So how do you handle situations when, a teacher's out and you don't have enough substitutes to cover, your classroom?
So we do, first of all, either combine classes, and then we have then a teacher and an aide. A teacher then keep the door open, and then, with some more supervision. So we try, but to meet this challenge, we increased our substitute rate $280 per day. And for long term is $300, like $299. So with this, we are able to attract some substitutes.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Questions or comments? Vice President Wong, do you have any?
Yeah, just. Okay, do you want to turn the mic over to my? Awesome, thank you, Trustee Venegas. I'd like clarification on, I know that everyone's kind of was impacted by COVID and the test scores, and you may have covered this and I could have completely missed it. Given your percentage of English language learners, what is your strategy to increase the performance in math and English for your ELLs? What are your strategic goals around that?
On total...
English language learners.
Yeah, so in ELA, they are like 26%.
Yeah.
I think in one of the slides, 26% they did in ELA and around 20% in math.
Correct. So the
EL population.
That's low. That's pretty low. And so your strategies to address the
what happens is that we have many students coming straight from other countries and with language barriers. So it takes at least 2 years in order for them to learn English properly. And so first of all, they can take for the 12 months English test. So it's low in math because regardless when they come, so we have to administer math right away. And so many word problems in English. So even though they may be good in math, but they are not able to perform well. So this is how we have a high population of new English learners from India, from Pakistan, from Fiji, from Afghanistan, from many other countries, and from other states too. But we have small class sizes, and we have 2 teachers dedicated to. We have a pull-out program from Punjabi actually. Other kids learn for Punjabi is only for 45 minutes, and other kids learn Punjabi for 5 days, but these EL students, they only for 2 to 3 days Punjabi, and the rest they learn English. This is how we try to address the problem.
Okay, thank you. I look forward to your next update, just because I know that we've actually implemented and invested strategically. We have similar population of students who are, multilingual learners, and so just looking forward to seeing how that will shake out.
Oh, thank you so much.
Okay. You have Trustee Venegas?
Yes. No, I want to thank you, Dr. Singh, and again, Matt Taylor as well, Superintendent Matt Taylor, for working together and exposing these students to their first, basketball game, seeing the excitement around that, and just a great example of putting the students first. So thank you both for working together on that.
Thank you. No, they welcomed us like anything, and I'm so impressed with Ms. Matt Taylor. So,
Okay, coffee?
I just wanted, one question that I had was on your summaries of all their students. You had 160 students on your demographics, and you had them all. I just was curious to know how you went about identifying them. Were they, some of them doubled, or were they all, if they were socioeconomic disadvantage, or is that like 123 of 160 were socioeconomic disadvantage? In which case, then I was just trying to look at the numbers, because it seems like we have the growth over all the years, but then I'm seeing the testing, and it's a certain percentages, like, are they doubled is what I was curious, or are they a few kids meeting more areas in this, so they got counted twice, or?
No, not even a single student. It's
Not a
like
single
that.
student. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's where I was curious. I was like, so we have 275 kids,
Yeah.
and then whether they were foster youth, well, not foster youth, but English language learner, they were not in any other subcategory.
So no, the unduplicated, they are socioeconomic, and they are, but this data, for EL, there's different categorization. So we don't have unduplicated put together.
Okay.
So we have each separately.
Okay, because I was just curious to know, because I'm like, oh man, English language learners, but then maybe they were in other areas, but I'm glad to hear that they were unduplicated. That's all.
No, not at all.
That's all I had a question on. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And I have a couple questions as well. Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
No problem. Thank you. I'm wondering, I hadn't heard of the school or the site School Dinger before, and I'm wondering how you chose to use that for data.
Would you repeat the question again?
So the schooldinger.com versus the California dashboard. And I haven't ever heard of this before, so I'm wondering your choice of that, or how you use this data, this site.
Dashboard has in a different way. So, School Digger, so that gives a total number of schools in California. And on the basis of our, CASP results, so what is the number for school? And so they have the ranking that way. And so using that ranking, so we just look like for younger kids, we slipped. And for older kids, we improved.
Okay. In the future, it might be helpful for the next update to use the dashboard, because that's what we use also. So just to see the same tool that we're familiar with. But I appreciate that you went through all the data, and I appreciate sharing, just like we are here, our areas of concern that we have as well that we're working on this year.
So, but all other data is from dashboard.
Okay.
So, like all category wise, that's exactly in our SARC report, and that's a dashboard thing.
Okay, thank you for that. And then my other question would be, do you collaborate? Are there any other schools that are similar to what you are doing? Do you know any that you work with or collaborate with? Do you have any partners Or are you unique in the region?
No, we first of all the time seek help from Washington Unified. And so far we have been, for the last 3 years, in the last 5 years, we've been struggling with so many different things, but now we found a partner with Mr. Taylor, and so we'll be more open to collaborations with our schools too.
Okay, good. I think that's an important piece for us as well, is when we go to conferences and reach out and get to know other schools, because there are challenges that we're all facing. And so I think that those are important conversations to have, and to have people that you can reach out and see how are they doing these pieces as well. So.
Yeah, I will definitely pay attention to that. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, and I commend you on your class sizes. I think that's your small class size is the envy, I think, of many. So thank you.
And I actually have one
Go ahead. I have
question.
one more too, so go ahead.
Back to that EL conversation. How many of those EL students are long-term EL students?
So there are quite many, I would say, but not that, as the percentage is not that big, but there are like some, this year increased more because of pandemic. They're like 5 years, 4 years to 6 years. And for them, we just have a way to figure out that if they are not improving in their home language, and then there are some other issues, so we do special education testing for them, and most of the time those are the reasons that they are long-term EL.
And do you know about how many students you currently have that are long-term?
I can only give you estimate, and it could be around 15 students to, between 15 to 20.
Okay.
Yeah, not more than that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Trustee Pizzotti?
Yeah, thank you. Just a quick question. It says that your, I guess, your information that you have on your slides are from 2021, but when I pulled up the information on the dashboard, that information is from the 22.
Which those the CASP result, I mean last year's CASP results.
Right.
Yeah. So
in the school digger one is from 21.
Oh, so this is a comparison for the last year and the previous year. 21 and 22. So those are two comparisons.
Sorry, I guess I'm not seeing. Because it's in a different format that I'm not really, like, we're used to seeing that type of format.
I think most schools in 20s didn't administer CASP results, but
no, 21.
Yeah. So, 21 and 22, these are 2 years.
Right.
And so the comparison school digger is between the two.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate it a lot. Thank you.
Okay, so now that takes us to Lighthouse Charter Schools Annual Update Presentation. That's Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, Monique Stovall.
Okay, thank you. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Superintendent Taylor.
All right, hey, how's it going, everybody? It's good to see you all. We've got a slideshow for you. I'm bringing this slideshow, has a lot of updates on the data. We were back here in, what was that, October when we met the last time. So this has got an update of a lot of our data. And I'm happy to give program updates as well. I kind of did that through pictures, so we'll catch up as we go along. So next slide, please. This is an overall look at our demographics. This was from the 22-23 year. On the slide deck it says 21-22, but this is actually 22-23. I apologize for that error. We're at about 53.4% socioeconomically disadvantaged students at our school, about 12% English learners, and about 10% students with disabilities. Those numbers have actually risen. All of those categories have risen in the 22-23 school year, which I expect as as the economy is not going as well for some folks, that we've seen increases in a lot of those categories. Our demographic breakdown is about 46% Hispanic, about 25% white, and then about 9% two or more races is our next largest group. Next slide, please. So I pulled up some of our dashboard indicators just to kind of give a sense of where we're at in terms of these dashboard reports. So I'll break them down as we go into each one. Next slide, please. Chronic absenteeism, and this is one of those that's just, it's just affecting schools everywhere. So I've included some comparisons on here just as, seeing numbers for me, like 33% chronically absent is like, it makes me want to pull what remaining hair I have out of my head. But that's happening across the state. We had so many kids that we were sending home last year because they were sick and they didn't do the independent study work that we needed them to do, and therefore they were considered chronically absent. So we've seen these numbers fall during this school year, but it's still a problem. It's still something that we are struggling with, and I assume y'all are grappling with it here as well. But we're really trying to focus on absenteeism and being in school. We've created a school-wide campaign around, we call it Heroes, and it's here every day, ready to learn and on time is the hero, and it's on every door, and it's like, and we just keep saying like, are you a hero today? And we're really trying to, anything we can do to kind of encourage the students and their parents to kind of buy into this. It matters to be at school. Next slide, please. This is just a summary back to the overall dashboards. Next one. So suspension rates, this was from the 21-22 year. We've really, you'll see in some of our later investments, we've really focused on restorative practices and trying to bring those, reduce any sort of exclusionary discipline. So last year we were able to not have any of these really big exclusionary disciplines. We had students that were in school suspension where they would be in the office, they would do those things, but we didn't have to have anybody on out of school suspension, and no expulsions last year. We've had an uptick in suspensions this year, so when I present next year, you'll see some suspension data on there, but that was 21-22 was a good year for that. So next slide. And then next slide after that. This is, let's see, actually, yeah, this is our English learner progress data. So in terms of, I wanted to dive a little bit deeper. Our English learner our English learner data is an area that we want to, we've been really trying to focus on as a school. One of my admins that works, we have two schools, our school in Clarksburg and our school here in West Sac. And our school in Clarksburg, one of our admins is getting an advanced degree, and her project is all about English learner acquisition and improvement. So she's working hand in hand with our principal at this site to do some deep dives into what's going on with our English learners population. We see about just over 40% of the kids are maintaining and growing in their levels of English learners, but we've got this sort of 50% group that is the groups that are either maintaining or decreasing, and that is a concern of ours as a school, that 33% of students decreasing one level on as far as their English language acquisition. We see that through our test scores as well. A lot of the students really struggled in the pandemic, particularly around Zoom learning. If it wasn't your primary language and your parent couldn't help you, we saw a lot of our students that were regressing there, and that's showing up now in their test scores as they start to take more of these state tests. So that is a big focus. When I talk about the program changes that we've made this year, you'll see that that's a focus that we've had. Next slide. So this is just sharing some comparative data around where we're at. We're at about 41% of our students making progress, of our English learner students making progress. So it's a small N count, 39 students, but a small number of them are making progress at 41% compared to Washington Unified's 52 and the state of California's 50. So we are lagging behind in that area. And so we've made investments when we've been following this data over the last couple of years. This is an area we've made some investments in to try and get that number to be a little bit higher and help those students really make progress in learning English. Next slide. So this is back to our overall dashboard indicators, and then we'll talk a little bit about state tests in English language arts, math, and science. So for ELA, this is our dashboard chart. I really wanted to focus on the comparison. On the left-hand side, you'll see our scores at Lighthouse, and on the right-hand side, you'll see the state comparisons. And so, you know, when looking at the state tests, we're about 34.5 points below standard, which is the state expectation is that to be at, you know, that is the where they're measuring that cut point is how far below or above the state standard are you? We're at 34.5 below. Statewide, they're about 12.2 points below standard. So our students are further behind in English than if we go to the next slide. One more, that one, math. Then in math, where in math our students actually outperform the state. Our students in math are about 46 points below standard, whereas the state, they're at 51.7. And so the next slide, we did a deep dive into sort of what were the comparisons pre and post pandemic. So looking at the scores from 18-19, where were our students? And then where were our students in you know, in the 21-22 year, the first year back of testing. And what we saw, which we were pleased about, was that we did not see huge declines in our student performance from year over year. Whereas the state saw, you know, about a 4-point decline, our students actually held their own. So even though we're a little lower performing overall than the state was, we were actually, our students were maintaining the levels that they were at. And the reason we pulled out Lighthouse grades 3 through 6 was this was Lighthouse, the last time you saw data in 18-19 only had 3rd through 6th graders. The grades have been added in 7th and 8th grade. So we wanted to give the board some direct comparison about last time you saw these numbers, what did it look like? And so you can see it's a little bit of a pretty much flat across the board post-pandemic. So if we go to the next slide, this is something when we look at our math scores that we see a little bit more of a decline that we saw in our math scores dropping from about 7 points for the Lighthouse grades 3 through 8, but then when we compare the two groups, just the Lighthouse 3rd through 6th, it's about a 3-point drop compared to the state 6 or 7-point drop. So math was an area that is a major focus of ours that we want to continue to dive into. So if you go to the next slide, you can kind of see this in a tabular format that are the difference for our math scores was right on par with the state. But the difference for our ELA scores, we actually we're pretty excited about that. So I wanted a slide that did not make it in here was about science scores. Our science scores, we were at 24.39% met on science, and the state was at 29.5% met. So we were, you know, close to the state, but below that. That's an area that we'd actually adopted new science curriculum coming out of the pandemic. So we're hoping that will help. There's a much more rigorous science curriculum than what was in place before. So if you go to the next slide, next slide, sorry. This next one has a grade by grade breakdown. So I think you know, this tells a story that we are really excited about with our math program. Even though those scores showed an overall decline, we invested last year in an instructional coach. where we hired a very experienced, phenomenal teacher to be an instructional coach for math, and that teacher focused on second, third, and fourth grade. Really, as those middle grades, the kids coming out of the pandemic, focusing on those core math skills. And what we actually saw was that paid huge dividends. When you look at those scores, those green bars on the third and fourth shows the students that were at or above state standards in those grade levels. So our third and fourth grade classrooms were at 56% met and 50% met compared to some of the upper grades that were much, much lower. And so that really validated that investment in the teacher training, the professional development, and the coaching model. And so when we saw this data, and the anecdotal work that we've been doing with our staff, we'd actually had that coach roll down to the next lowest set of grades, and she's coaching TK through second now. So we're actually hitting the primary grades with the coaching. So we're hoping that that's going to build this really strong foundation for the students in math. All right, next slide. We did want to talk about some areas of growth that we have been working on, and the data showed us over the last couple of years that we wanted to focus on. So we hired a program specialist, and she was helping both with our special ed department as well as working with English learners, assessments, evaluations, really trying to close that gap for our English learner students. This year, we also hired an MTSS coordinator that was really pushing in on those Tier 2 and Tier 3 supports for the students, trying to address those academic issues as well as behavioral interventions. We also, for the first time, hired a counselor on our site. So we have an LCSW that works as a counselor on our site, really designed to really work with the kids in trauma. She has a caseload. She's out on the playground. Anytime there's a student that needs somebody to talk to, we set up a classroom for her where she's got beanbags and fun things for the kids to sit. We do a lot of work around restorative circles, and she does that work in that classroom. This year and next year, we're really digging in on project-based learning, which is the core of what we do at our schools. It's hard to do project-based learning over Zoom, so we really want to double down on that for the rest of this year, and then that's going to be our big focus for professional development next year with our Teachers Association and our PD days that we're using will be focused on project-based learning, and then authentic writing, really getting the students to write in their own voice. We've had students publish novels these last 2 years. It's been great to have the students doing that work. And then once again, the instructional coaching is huge. So next slide. So that's kind of the big picture data stuff. As Dr. Singh was talking about, we had an absolute blast with middle school sports this year. There was a whole group of small schools that are kind of, small schools were kind of out on our own. We were able to bring a group of those schools together. So we had 6 schools participate in a volleyball and a basketball league this year, where we've been able to use the space that we have and have these positive experiences for the students, which is fabulous. Next slide shows some of our girls this fall in volleyball. You can see the crowds. You can see the crowds in the back. These kids felt like they were pros. It was one of the really fun things that I never would have thought of, but made it really exciting in the gym was we let our after school students come in to watch the games, and they brought such an energy level to our games that it was so much fun to have the kindergartners cheering for the middle schoolers. It just made everybody happy. The next slide. So we've had some really fun things that we've been working on. So on the top left there is our library. So we took a classroom and started collecting book donations. We got a bunch of books donated from Scholastic, but also from parents and community members. And so we've created a library where students can come check out books. On the bottom right, we've got our little guys singing at the tree lighting ceremony. We have a full-time music teacher at both of our schools, and Mr. San Pedro took the kids out and they sang at the West Sac Christmas tree lighting this year, which was great. On the top right, we're actually having solar installed on our buildings. Our PG&E bills are out of control, and I know you guys have done solar on a lot of your schools, and I'm sure it saved a ton of money. We're a little late to the game, but we're really excited to have solar put in on those buildings. And then we're working with the city on installing 3 electric vehicle chargers in our parking lot right there in Bright and Broderick, where the city needs a place where people in the community can come charge their cars after hours, but we have teachers that would love to be able to charge their cars while they're at work. And so we've managed to sort of set the parking lot up where during the day, these are spots reserved for teachers, but then in the evenings, the community can come and, you know, charge their cars. So that we have a big apartment complex right next door, which will be a great way for the community to come use it. We've done a lot this year on middle school electives, trying to allow our middle schoolers to engage in not just the core program. We have 150 kids in our middle school. It's very small. We have, 4 teachers. You can't do a lot of electives. So we've brought in all sorts of folks to teach middle school electives. So I'm teaching a business class, an entrepreneurship class to our middle schoolers. In the first trimester, we had our director of HR, who also used to run preschools, teach a child careers class for the students to grow up the next generation of teachers. So we've loved kind of expanding that. We also just were fortunate enough, we were awarded a CTC grant for a partnership we have with Reach University, which is a way for paraeducators to become teachers. And the grant is going to allow us to provide dollars to the paraeducator to take classes and get their bachelor's degree and ultimately their teaching credential, but it also provides dollars for the mentor teacher to get a stipend to pour into the paraeducator. So the teacher gets a little bit of money, the para gets a little bit of money, and then they will grow up our own set of teachers to help solve what everybody else is talking about with the staffing crisis. So next slide. As middle schools, upper elementary especially, really focused on trying to help the kids understand the effects of their words, the effects of social media. We've been doing a lot of work around anti-bullying just to help the students understand that their words matter. So we've been doing a lot of posters, and the kids have had guest speakers come in and talk. And then on the left-hand side there, you see this is the Sacramento Ballet. We run our ELOP program. So we were able to take our school calendar and add 5 professional development days for teachers throughout the calendar, and then we turned those into ELOP days. So they're expanded learning days. So the school is still open. The kids can still come if they choose. About 60% of the kids come. The teachers get pulled off campus or go to their rooms and have professional development time, but the paraeducators then run the school. But these are ELOP days, so they're non-instructional. So we do exciting, fun enrichment activities for the students. So we brought the Sacramento Ballet comes, and they dance with the kids, and they talk to them. We bring a petting zoo. We brought the fire department and the police department just to sort of give the kids an enrichment activity, but also give our teachers time for release time. So we used to do 5 professional development days, and they were all in August. And then there was no PD for teachers except for staff meetings and early release days throughout the year. So we were able to bring in 5 extra days by being strategic with those ELOP dollars. And that is it. I have, if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
First, I'll ask if we have any public comments.
No public comment?
Okay, then I will open it up to the school board. Go ahead. Nope. All right. Trustee Vasari.
All right, thank you. Hey, Matt.
Hey, how are you?
Good. Let's see. So I was looking at your suspension rates are very low.
Yes.
You said that's a mixture of using in-school suspensions and not having to actually suspend kids. Given we've seen pretty much statewide and even nationwide an increase in behavioral issues throughout children post-COVID, can you walk me through how have you been able to manage that, and B, approximately how many in-school suspensions did you see?
Yeah, so I don't have the in-school suspension number specifically, but I can get those for you. And our 22-23 number, this year's numbers, so what year are we in? 22-23. These year's numbers are higher than the 21-22. This was, I think, a bit of a unique situation in 21-22, where we were overstaffed in having. We had lots and lots of one-time money. We had lots and lots of people, so we were able to manage a lot of behaviors a lot more quickly than I think we've been able to see. And the behaviors seem to have gotten more intense. I don't know if that's what y'all have experienced here, but in the 22-23 year, we're seeing a lot more intensity in the behaviors than we did in 21-22. And our psychologists are working on that, trying to understand sort of what we've done differently. But it really, we did focus a lot on push in to the classrooms, where we had a lot more support staff with our one-time dollars. We hired a lot of paraeducators. We called them WIN aides. They were called What I Need Now, and they were really designed about academic interventions, but when there was a behavior intervention, that they got pulled to go help with that. So we were able to have a lot more adults in the place. And it's sort of sad to me to see all the one-time dollars going away, because those are the positions that are the ones that get dropped, and they were working. If we were able to maintain the staffing levels that we had, we could, we could continue to provide those levels of supports. So we've tried to supplement it by, okay, we've got a counselor and an MTSS coordinator, but they're more, administrative level and not on the ground as much as these. I think we had 6 or 7 paraeducators that were basically free agents on the campus that would push in wherever we needed them. So that was, seems like that's gone away with the dollars.
So in terms of, I heard the comment, you said you've made investments in EL.
Mm-hmm.
So can you give us some examples of what type of investments you're making?
Yeah, so with our program specialist, what she's been really trying to do is understand the underlying reasons for the lack of progress. So what are those who are those long-term ELs? We've actually been seeing a lot of Ukrainian refugees that we've gotten into our schools, and they're coming in with severe language deficits because they're brand new to the country. They may or may not have ever spoken English in an academic setting before. So, and they're 3rd or 4th or 5th grade, so we're seeing a lot of these newcomers that seems to be confounding the data a little bit, where we've got a bunch of new folks in it, but then we also have a lot of long-term ELs. Part of what we're seeing in the data, and I don't know, Dr. Hildreth, if you and your team are seeing this too, but is there are a lot of students that can perform at the level, but the way the state forces us to reclassify means they have to score a certain score on the state test. And if only 40% or 45% of the students are considered proficient on the state test, and in order to be reclassified as an EL, you have to hit that line. That's a really high bar to hit for all kids, apparently. And if you're an English learner, it's an even bigger lift. So we're seeing a lot of students that are sort of stuck in those mid bands, and we're trying to push them across, and they're just not. The tests seem to be pegged at a level that may be a little too aggressive for the students that are making progress. So that's where we're kind of trying to figure it out, but it's an area that we definitely are struggling with. So our program specialist has been helping to design programs and done a lot of push-in into the classrooms to model for teachers. How can you set up your room? Beginning of the year, brand new teacher, label all the stuff in the room. Put the word clock under the clock. Put the words, a lot of the GLAD strategies that teachers have used for years and years, just helping pour that into our teachers, so our English learners can access all the things in the classroom.
And then, so I'll ask the same question I asked Sac Valley Charters. Like, how are you handling the substitute situation? I mean, it's a struggle for everyone, including us.
So Our strategy that's been somewhat effective is everyone on campus that's eligible for a 30-day permit is we've paid and worked with CTC to get them on a 30-day permit. So if we have a paraeducator that has a bachelor's degree and can meet the requirements, here's the paper. We'll pay the CTC for you to get the 30-day permit, and then when we need to cover a class, we have a credentialed person. They're on a 30-day permit. It's not perfect. Their training is, they definitely need the training to move into a fully credentialed position, but it at least keeps us with a credentialed person in the classroom. And then we feel like with our REACH partnership, I've got 8 paraeducators that are in that partnership right now, getting the training to become teachers. That those are the ones that we're trying to give them at bats in the classroom. Oh, you really want to be a teacher? Great. You're going to be in that room to help. So,
and then I only have one last question. And it's, do you have now on your board a member that is from the Lighthouse area, from the community in that area?
Yeah, we've always had multiple members that are Lighthouse parents. It's part of our MOU and part of our charter that we have 2 seats that are reserved for Lighthouse parents. And so right now I think we have 3 that are Lighthouse parents that are on our board, but we're required to have 2.
I don't mean Lighthouse parents. I mean actually from the Lighthouse in that community, in the Riverbank Lighthouse.
Oh, you know what? I don't actually know where the board members live. I think they live in more the north part of I think one of them lives in State Streets and one of them lives kind of up in that area, but I can check. That is we the way we do our board appointments is the board appoints its own replacements. So we're not looking at areas. It's do you meet the checkbox? Are you a Lighthouse parent? Yes. Are you interested? And then we do a whole interview and an appointment process through the board. So location where they lived was never something we asked about. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. Clerk Coffee.
I'm going to piggyback off of that.
Yeah.
And the reason I want to piggyback off of, the community, there are a lot of community members have been there for years before before the charter school was there.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of concerns, but they don't know who to talk to.
Okay.
And so it's really important that either somebody within the charter school makes themselves readily available or gives the information so that the community that is across the street or, where these kids are walking from, they know who to talk to. Because there is a lot going on literally right outside your guys's.
Yeah, and we follow the Westside community pages as well. And our principal is on that street corner many days of the week and is actively chatting with parents, with community members. Every community member in the neighborhood has the principal's phone number and the CBO and our chief business officer's cell phone numbers to reach out to.
Well, that's good to hear.
Some folks, want to air their grievances on Facebook, but
that they made themselves readily or
100%
giving their information.
And we have staff outside, so we have staff outside. The parking is the issue that that there are parents that want to come to the kids' school and they want to park, and they park in the neighborhood, and a lot of families don't love that they're in the neighborhood, that there's cars.
I understand that because there's the YOLO food bank around the corner, and they are all around, and the houses that are there are, I'm just trying to get to my driveway. That's all I'm trying to do. So I get it.
No, totally. And we do too. And we really, and we had an incident where there was a student walking in someone's driveway or walking in someone's yard, and the person posted on the WestSAC Facebook page. We did the research. We looked at our cameras to find out which student it was and interviewed the student and said, be respectful of your neighbors. Here's you walking across that person's yard. Please, don't throw your trash on the ground. They're 13-year-olds they just need to be reminded of these things. So, yeah.
And that is all.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Trustee Venegas.
All right. Maybe you can tell that 13-year-old that, it's going to get his shoes dirty if he walks on grass. Maybe that'll...
He'll probably stay off it then.
You're
messing with my dirty, fit, right?
Man. No, thank you for that presentation. Just 2 questions. And the first one's not really a question. It's more so just inspired, again, by knowing that, knowing that you and Dr. Singh are working together. Yeah. And I'm such a fan of putting students first. And seeing them experience. So when it comes to the conversation again around EL, I know that we have an incredible newcomer site over at Riverbank that just brings a lot of joy, and it really strikes home. So I don't know if it's, if you guys have already shared some ideas
I'd love to
or
come over.
resources.
Yeah. We come for a
you and
tour,
Dr.
maybe?
Hildreth,
Yeah.
but just again, it's serving community first and serving
Yeah.
students first. So just how we can expand that and really just become, even tighter. when it
Totally.
comes
And
to serving.
and I'm all about learning from others. I mean, I think that the greatest form of flattery is stealing from someone else in this education world. We find a school that works, we're going to take all their stuff and put our logo on it and make it and improve it. So if there are things that we can learn from your newcomer side, I would love to get out there and learn.
Yeah, that would be great. And then just the other question is as far as staff, I know recruitment is one part, but staff retention, how are you doing with that? And what are some strategies that are effective that you're currently using?
Yeah, I mean, staff retention has been difficult I think in all areas, but it's been particularly difficult. We're in the middle of our first contract negotiations. So we have our association, and we're in the middle of our first contract negotiations. So there's a lot of unknowns, I think, that folks have around that. What does this mean? How do I, what do I do? How's the, all the unknowns where that folks were like, you know what, I might be interested in somewhere that maybe is there's not all these unknowns. So we had a few teachers that left over the kind of concerns around the moving parts. I had 4 teachers this last year that left the profession entirely. And I don't know if that's what you're seeing here, but we're a pretty small staff, and for 4 people that 2 left during the summer, and then we actually had 2 mid-year leavers this year that just said, this job is too much. Parents, kids, all of it. I'm out. I need to take a break for my own mental health. I got to go do, and they're doing something completely different than education. So it's that is a reality I think we're all facing, and it is. So we're trying to do everything we can to support our teachers and provide. We've done one-time bonuses, raises, trying to provide all kinds of supports. We have counseling contracts with different groups where teachers can get on-demand counseling so that they can have somebody to talk to. We've tried all the stuff, but it's a hard job. It's a really hard job. So
yeah. And have you had any conversations or exit interviews, just on kind of getting kind of the, being on that pulse of why?
Yeah, we've done a lot. We do exit interviews with every employee that leaves if they want to chat with us, and so we try and gather what those things are, and try and make system improvements as we can. But yeah, it's definitely a tough time right now.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, Vice President Wong, do you have any comments or questions?
Nope, everyone's asked all the questions that I had in mind. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
And I have just a couple. One, I liked hearing about the PD days and how that you are getting creative with that with the students.
Yeah.
Those were good ideas. I think that we can have takeaways from as well.
Awesome.
And also the charging stations. I know we have staff that probably was ears perking up to that idea. So those are 2, just I commend you on those 2 pieces. When you said your first year of negotiations, will you remind us your staff unionized this last year? Is that what you're referring to?
In December of 21.
Okay.
So 21-22 school year was when our union was recognized, and then we've been in the negotiation process because we're having to build a contract from 0 to 27 articles, and it's it takes a long time to get through all of those. So that's where we're in that process right now.
Do you have an idea of when you think you might be done with that process, or is it just?
It kind of depends. I think I'm hopeful that by the springtime we'll have. We do bargaining twice a month for pretty much full days. So it's a lot of hours of bargaining to try and knock through all those articles. So we've got a lot of time invested and a lot of time to invest into that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then I want to thank you also for pulling up the data. It is helpful to see Lighthouse, the district, the state, and I wanted to pull out specifically, I was looking at the English learner process, and we are looking, as was mentioned, closely at our data with we're started a newcomers program to address
I love
need and
that.
other pieces that we're doing. And we're just above the state average. I know you're below and working on those goals.
Yep.
And looking at this, I just wanted to call out, it's already past us, but Dr. Singh, that Sac Valley Charter actually is above all of us. They're very high on meeting their English learner students. And so I just wanted to point that out, that you're serving those students well. And it does show that they're very high. So
Yeah. I was
wanted to make
impressed with
that
their
point.
data as well. It was like,
Yeah.
wow, that's awesome.
I wanted to make that
I want to go
point.
learn some stuff.
Okay, well, I think that's all from us. And then if I can ask just our Assistant Superintendent Monique Stovall just to share with the board the process of what this looks like. Does staff do annual site visits, and what can the board know for the future? We're all done with our annual updates, and I appreciate that, but just so board members are aware.
So yes, as our authorizers, we are required to do annual updates, or I'm sorry, annual site visits. We will be scheduling that for later this spring. I did have the opportunity to visit Sac Valley Charter earlier this year, and last year I was able to visit Lighthouse. What we'll be doing is pulling the team together, because it's not just the business office. It's human resources, it's our special services team, it's education services team. And so we want to make sure that we're coordinating with each charter school so that they're prepared when we have to come out and do their visit, and our team can be prepared as well. So we'll be doing that later this spring.
Okay, all right, thank you for that. And if no other comments, then thank you. Okay, have a good evening. That now takes us to our consent agenda. And as a reminder, O2E, which was the community school coordinator job description, was pulled. Are there any public comments on the consent agenda?
No public comment?
Okay, then can I get a motion?
I move.
Okay, thank you. Moved by trustee
second.
Venegas and seconded by trustee Pizzotti, and we do have to do a roll call vote. Vice President Wong?
Aye.
Clerk Coffey? Aye. Trustee Venegas?
Aye.
And trustee Pizzotti?
Aye.
And I too vote aye. Okay. So now we have our action item number 1, approval of the Carnegie World Language Adoption for 9/12, and this is with Matt Ainsworth, our Director of Curriculum, Instruction, and Professional Learning.
Good evening, President Kirby Gonzalez, trustees, Superintendent Hildreth, and Cabinet. Summer of 2022, our River City High School World Language teachers began a process to choose a new world language curriculum adoption for this school year. This process included reviewing possible choices of pilot programs, participating in professional learning during the fall semester of the 22-23 school year. On February 2nd, of this year, Curriculum Council chose to move forward with the recommendation of our 9/12 World Language teachers and move forward with Carnegie Learning Language Solutions as our world language curriculum adoption beginning in the spring of the 22-23 school year for a total of 6 years. Carnegie Learning Language Solutions is aligned with California State World Language Standards, combines digital and hands-on materials with embedded assessments, and a vast array of resources to meet all world language standards. The Educational Service Department facilitated a public hearing for public comment at the February 9th Board of Education meeting, and tonight we bring it to the board for action. Joining me tonight is River City Principal Brittany Billingsley and World Language Department Chair Benjamin Salcido. Benjamin did a great job leading his team on this work at River City, and he presented at our Curriculum Council. So, and we're here to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you so much. And I do not have any public comment, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, as a reminder, Clerk Coffey and I are on this committee, and so we had the privilege of getting to hear the presentation and look through the books as well, and appreciate you being here and giving your time. Are there any questions? Okay. With that,
I move.
all right, so we have a motion by trustee Pizzotti.
And I second.
Seconded by Clerk Coffey, and we'll do a roll call vote. Vice President Wong?
Aye.
Clerk Coffey?
Aye.
Trustee Venegas,
Aye.
and Trustee Pizzati.
Aye.
And
I'm
I too
sorry.
vote aye.
I'm sorry you had to stay here this late.
He's leaving with books. I think he's going to be
Right.
really
But
excited.
we won't keep you a lot longer now, so. Thank you.
Thank you
It's
all.
a big
Thank
win
you all.
for our kids. Thanks.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. All right, and that takes us to action item number 2, the approval of the geotechnical engineering services with Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, Monique Stovall.
Thank you. I am here to ask for approval of a contract amendment to your geotechnical engineering services. This contract was approved last July for geotechnical survey being completed at the Westfield Village in preparation for the modernization. The reason for the amendment is so that work could be completed over the weekend when students aren't on campus. For example, there's heavy drilling and things like that, and we did not want to interrupt their learning. The cost for this amendment is about $5,300.
Okay, and I don't see any public comment.
No public comment?
Are there any questions on the board? Okay, with that, do we have a motion?
I move.
Okay, moved by Trustee Venegas,
I'll second.
seconded by Trustee Pizzati, and we'll do our roll call vote. Vice President Wong,
Aye.
Clerk Coffey,
Aye.
Trustee Venegas,
Aye.
Trustee Pizzati,
Aye.
and I too vote aye.
Thank you.
Okay, and that brings us down now to our board governance. Request approval of the California School Board Association, CSBA, and Association of California School Administrators, ACSA, Coast to Coast Federal Advocacy Trip for 2 trustees and the superintendent in Washington, D.C. from April 24th to April 26th of 2023. Dr. Hildreth.
Thank you, President Kirby Gonzalez. Yes, I would like to bring to the trustees for awareness and approval, an opportunity that is new in our state with the California School Boards Association, otherwise known as CSBA, and the Association of California School Administrators, also known as ACSA. This started last year, and so this trip, it's called the Coast to Coast Federal Advocacy Trip in Washington, D.C., where school board members and superintendents from across the state go to Washington, D.C. for 3 days to meet with congressional representatives, key federal agency leaders, and other top policymakers. And it's an opportunity to really advocate for the needs of our students. And so CSBA and ACSA is looking for representation of districts across the state of various sizes. And so we are hoping to be able to represent the voice for our WUSD students and for students across the state with advocating this.
Okay, are there any discussion from the board? I have some comments, but I'm wondering if others would like to go or have questions or concerns. Okay, so, and I know Vice President Wong as a delegate may have pieces to say. Our handbook, as well as our board policy, shows that we, as trustees, do not go on anything other than our CSBA annual trip without it always coming to this board. And so this is not something that the board has ever done before. And it's something that would need board approval and would need board approval every time moving forward based on our bylaws. One piece of this that came out is that you might know about the cap to cap that the county supervisors often, city council members often do, where they go to Washington, D.C. To advocate and to lobby on policies. And one of the pieces on their agenda is often education. And we do not have a voice in that room or in those conversations when we are not there. So this is a way to address that with CSBA as well as ACSA, looking at how do we have a voice in that arena. And I reached out to some board members at other districts that I really respect and value their opinion, because we haven't ever heard it, we haven't done this before. This is a newer thing. Reached out to them, is this meaningful? Are you going? And they said, yep, all signed up. And so that gave me some confidence behind that as well. And then the program, when you open it up, is pretty jam-packed. I mean, it is like on Monday, it's 8 a.m. You start with your general session all the way to 5 p.m. with breakout sessions going all through. And then the next day you go in and it's Day on the Hill to go in and lobby for multiple days. The federal funding is not the biggest source of our income. It's more state funding, but we do have federal funding for our lunch programs. Our big community school grant that we're so fortunate to have comes from that. ACES, Head Start, some of those pieces are where we get federal funding. So having a voice there, I think sounds important. And again, President Wong is she down there with you? Where's she going? She's moved. But
She moved. We're having some technical difficulties. I'm trying to have her rejoin, but
I believe as a delegate that was that the delegates are attending, and then if it's okay with the board, it's your purview, but as board president, I would be able to go to this, and with the idea that it could, change over. So opening up to everyone.
I have a question. So as a delegate, she automatically goes. Is that correct?
Well, no, because this is their second year, right? Correct? And she hadn't done it in the past, and would still need board approval if it was any district money funding based on our bylaws.
I'm not sure, and once we get Vice President Wong's sound working, I'm not sure about the CSBA delegates.
Okay.
That portion, I'm not sure.
Because it says two, well, it doesn't say how many.
okay.
Where's that?
And it is possible that more can, what
Oh, in the
CSBA
header.
said to us is that more can register,
There it is. Okay.
but that only 2 can be in the meeting rooms because of space, which is,
But if one's there, I'm asking is, if one person is there as a delegate,
I can.
and then another person is there, or the another 2 people are there as a part of the board.
so Vice President Wong, did you hear the question?
No, I literally just
Okay.
hung up.
So the question is, we're on the CSBA discussion here for Coast to Coast, and the question is about the role of delegate that you have. Is this, the question is it 2 people from the board go plus a delegate, or would you be going as a delegate? And you might want to restate that. I don't want to change your words at all. Trustee Pizzotti. So let Trustee Pizzotti restate that to make sure it encompasses what he's asking.
Yeah, so I guess my question is, are you attending as in your capacity as a delegate, and then 2 additional people from the board can go? Or is it you are inclusive, regardless of you being a delegate, as the second person from the board?
So this is staff recommendation. I think, I'm sorry, you're cutting out, so I'm assuming that, are you done with your question, Trustee Pizzotti?
Yeah.
Okay. So one, I'm now officially on the board of directors. Theoretically, we could have more, but I believe, and I'm sorry I missed the presentation, Superintendent Hildreth, that I think the recommendation was for 2, but you could have more if if the board wanted to have more.
Yes, the requirement for the total of 3 is more for attending the meetings with congressional representatives, that only 3 members per district will be able to meet with the...
3 members or 2?
It's a total, it's a cap of 3.
Oh, including you.
Right, so it's a
got it.
a total of 3. It could be 3 trustees or staffers. Most of the groups are going with 2 trustees and the superintendent. However, it's up to the board. If the board would say, we want those 3 spaces for 3 board members, that is a possibility. But it's also more than 3 total can attend the trip in general, but it is attending the meetings for the congressional representatives that are limited to 3 people total per district.
So Vice President Wong's position as delegate has no bearing on this. It's just as position. Okay.
That is correct. So I'm sorry for cutting off Trustee Pizzotti. It's just hard to say when I don't see. So it was capped the entire trip, right? There are other things going on outside of Capitol visits, right? And so, but if I read correctly, and I think we all got the notices, is that they actually lifted that cap. But that is correct in terms of office advocacy visits. I think they're still keeping to three people per district.
I have their capacity policy on the CSBA website if you want me to read it out loud right now. It says, please note that due to space constraints, congressional offices limit the number of constituents who can attend an in-person meeting. In order to accommodate all the LEAs, we must cap at 3 the number of trustees or staffers from a single LEA that can attend in-person on Capitol Hill. LEAs are free to register as many school board members, superintendents, directors, etc. as they'd like, but LEA sending more than 3 people to the events will then have to choose 3 members from their delegation to represent the school district.
So if other board members are interested, then also can talk. But is the board comfortable moving forward, I guess, is the main question with board members going. And it was in our governance core book as well that, a role is lobbying and being out there in this.
Yeah, because I'm sorry I missed the discussion, can I add value to that?
Sure.
Given kind of all of our support from the federal side, and we have so many federal dollars that come into us, to our district as a Title I district, it's actually really important with my Multiple Hats Board of Directors as well, to actually for us to be on the Hill to advocate for community. We have a federal community schools grant, right? Like our voice matters, right? Like, so it's really important from my perspective for us to participate in Coast to Coast.
I'm with a yes, if that makes any
I have a question.
with any.
Okay, we can put that on hold. Thank
Perfect.
you.
So my question, and I think maybe I need a little understanding. Our vice president, Jackie, is a part of an association, correct?
Of the CSBA, who's putting this on.
I'm part of leadership.
Okay.
Correct.
So would you be going to represent the leadership piece, or are you going to represent our school district?
I represent it all.
So would it be possible then to have you go as a representative of the leadership, and that way we can have two other trustees attend as well as our superintendent? I'm just curious to know if that's where you're.
As a point of clarification, if the entire board wanted to go, we could all go. It's about trying to determine how many people go to the Hill visits.
Sure. But then that would still be 3, right? That's kind of what I'm trying to get at, is like, if she's already going as a leadership member, then she would be, I don't want to say, she would be one person that we wouldn't need to have to consider as going because she's already going.
Just
That's kinda
bringing
what I
up
wanted to
another option for you all to discuss. I have been had discussion about attending Cap to Cap as their education representative, because there hasn't been an advocate on Cap to Cap. I'm not as familiar with what Cap to Cap is and would need to look into that more. But if that would be something that the board would want me to attend, and then that would open up a space for this trip, then I can look into that.
We think they're the same time, which was the tricky part.
Right, cap to
Yeah.
cap is it starts a little bit early. It starts like Saturday and it ends Wednesday, whereas this one starts Monday and ends Wednesday. So it's there at the same time, which is why I bring that up. And again, if I'm with the cap to cap group, that does open up another seat for the CSBA AXA group. So I'm bringing that as an opportunity.
Can I just ask, I mean, again, not seeing anybody, is everybody interested in going? Because if that's, I can always go back and ask the board and see if the CSBA will make an exception, which is something that I hear that. So I guess first and foremost are more than 3 people interested in going?
Well, let's do this real quick, Vice President Wong, because the purpose of this with our bylaws is to just make sure that we have support of it. And it looks like we do, to have support to move forward. Okay, and so then the question is, do other board members want to go? And we don't have to vote on that with the purpose of this is moving forward. So who else is interested in going? And I think that's a good.
Since I'm a lobbyist, that's kind of in my wheelhouse of something that I would like to do. But having said that, I mean, I don't want you to have to go through any extra hoops here. I was just wondering, a procedural question, if Trustee or Vice President Wong was going as a delegate, is it separate and apart? And then we would have 3 others able to attend from the district, because a lot of times, Vice President Wong goes to the CSBA conference separate and apart from the rest of us. So I was wondering, is it similar to that, or is it similar to this?
Not that I know of. I got your question now. No.
I think it's.
Okay. All right. I'm fine. That's fine.
So
I'll sit it out. I'm not.
I can move forward with cap to cap.
We're good. We're good. We're
Okay.
fine.
But we can still ask the question if others are interested. So after you leave this, if
anybody
you look
else
at your
is interested,
schedule
that's-
and you're interested, then please just reach out to Dr. Hildreth and then we'll ask the question. Because we want to be all inclusive and, but exciting that we are in a place where we have the funding and we have this. So, okay, thank you.
Owned by Mecca. That's okay.
Can I just ask a process question? Just let me know if I need to ask for an additional spot for the Hill visits. I'm happy to do so. We're not voting on it, but I just want to, just so I can go back to Vernon and everybody's like, hey, can you make an exception?
So Dr. Hildreth will reach out to you, I think, Vice President Wong is what we just set up if any trustees are interested. And then they can talk to her after. And we did write on here, request approval, but we haven't ever had to do a vote on this before. It's just making sure we have discussion. Okay. So that now takes us to board and superintendent comments and Dr. Hildreth. What? Okay, well, we haven't done that in the past with others, and our bylaws technically say that we need to discuss it, but it does say approval on here, so we can go through and approve it, but. Okay, so yeah, we already had a move by Trustee Venegas, second.
I'll second.
Seconded by Clerk Coffey. Roll call vote, Vice President Wong.
Aye.
Clerk Coffey.
Aye.
Trustee Venegas. Again, Trustee Vasati.
Aye.
And I too vote aye. Okay, thank you for that. These conversations sometimes get messy because that's the only place we can talk about them. So thank you all for that. And now we are at our board and superintendent comments and Dr. Hill.
Thank you, and good evening to everyone. There's a couple of items I want to highlight, so I'm going to jump right in. First, I want to congratulate that there are 11 River City High School students who were notified this past week of their eligibility to apply for College Board's National Recognition Program. And students are considered if they have taken the PSAT or AP exams and identify as African American or Black, Hispanic or Latinx, Native American or Indigenous, or attend high school in a rural area or small town. And so the National Recognition Programs are a proven way for many students of color and students in rural or small towns to stand out in the college application process and access millions of dollars in scholarships. So we wish them all the best throughout the application process, and we look forward to an announcement of the official awardees, which will take place in August of this year. As we saw also in the student board member report, we're so glad to have 8th grade parent night back. This is the first time they were back in person yesterday evening, and it was just great to see so many families and students there learning about all of the opportunities at River City High School. This week, I also had the privilege of hosting my district-wide parent advisory and individual student advisories with River City and Yolo High School students. These conversations are always the highlight of my week because we get to hear directly from the families and students that we serve and support throughout the year. And these engagement opportunities are also a phenomenal tool for our team to incorporate community input into things that we are doing. So I want to express my sincerest appreciation to everyone who attended and participated in the dialogues at each of these sessions. We know the importance of literacy, and so we were thankful to participate today with our United Way partners with YOLO Kids Read. It was an event at Elkhorn, and I believe they might have been at Riverbank as well today with Trustee Pizzotti helping out and doing some readings. I was able to do readings at Elkhorn, and YOLO Kids Reads provides books for students in kinder through 3rd grade and 4th and 5th graders. And during the event, United Way did announce it's their 100th anniversary, and they have a new campaign to raise $3 million to help 10,000 kids excel in school by 2025. So we were pleased to work with United Way in supporting their efforts and focusing on the power and love of reading with our students. It's once again time for our Parenting with Positive Discipline workshops. These are free workshops for all families, and they have been a big hit with our community in the past. And so we want to make sure that we highlight that we're starting that series again, and information is on our website where families can learn more and sign up. The first session will actually start this coming Monday on the 27th, and the workshops will be offered in both English and Spanish throughout the month of March. Another big program that's starting, and we heard a little bit about it at our last meeting with our extended learning program, is our spring break camp. So this is the first time where we are able to have a program for students to be involved in during the week of spring break. So we are having spring break camp. It'll be April 3rd through the 7th, starting at 7 a.m. and ending at 5:30 p.m. And enrollment is free for all students that qualify. We have priorities in terms of making sure we serve our foster students, foster youth, and our homeless. But we are asking all families who are interested to apply because we look like we will have capacity to provide the support that people need. And I think the app just opened, and as of Tuesday, right after the break, we already had like 266 families signing up and calling Rahale and Ryan to get more information. So that really, to me, highlights how we as a district are fulfilling needs, listening to what our community needs. Our kids are on spring break, but their parents are not. So they need a safe place to be. So we're so thankful to offer that. In terms of what's happening in our county, Yolo County Office of Ed is hosting a Roadmap to the Future initiative, and it's really being supported with funding from the Yolo County Board of Supervisors and other partners. And it's a long-term plan to help the county coordinate services, supports, opportunity for children, youth, and families. And they are having a meeting here in West Sac. They're going to do a meeting in each of the school districts in Yolo County. So there is a meeting Wednesday, March 1st from 5:30 to 7:30, and it will be held at the West Sacramento Community Center right here on West Capitol. Free dinner and child care will be provided. And so the Yolo County Office of Ed is just asking us to let people know. This type of information will also be useful for our district in our community schools process, because it's all about authentic community engagement, really hearing from the people that we support and serve. And that's pretty much it. It wraps up a busy, short month, and looking forward to continuing to provide the things that we're hearing are great needs. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Trustee Venegas.
All right. Yeah, I just want to just quickly highlight, again, the leaders in our community working together to impact our students, and that's a beautiful thing to be a part of. So let's keep that momentum going. That's it. Gracias, and good night.
Trustee Pizzotti.
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you to Riverbank for hosting me as a part of the United Way celebration. And it was amazing. I got to read to like 60 plus kids in the second grade. I absolutely love that. They have the best questions. I chose my favorite book of all time, Dragons Love Tacos, because it is quite possibly the best book ever made. And when I was introduced, they said Trustee Pizzotti, and one of the teachers that was introducing me, she goes, you know, this is your principal's boss. And I said, I got to correct you. I'm not your principal's boss. I am nowhere near your principal's boss. I'm one of 5 that is your superintendent's boss. She's your principal's boss. And then that, oh my God, it was like a litany of questions then ensued from there. It's like Pandora's box was open. So it was absolutely wonderful to see how little kids' minds work when you say things like that. It was just absolutely adorable. So I wanted to say a major congratulations to our River City High School wrestling team. They finished second in league, but they won the league tournament, which is where everybody competes, by 41 points. That's unheard of. That means they probably should have won league. They had 10 kids in the finals at the league tournament. 14 boys and 6 girls qualified for regionals. 3 girls and 8 boys qualified for masters. 1 boy and 1 girl qualified for the state. And this is the 5th year in a row that we've had a girl at the state meet. Right? That is something to celebrate. And for the first time in 12 years, we had Julian Avantsov make it to the state meet by finishing 6th. That's sectionals. And then Noah Arnold at the Sac Joaquin sectionals pinned every single person she went up against in order to win the Sac Joaquin sectionals. And she is now going on to the state meet. And I want to thank the district for making sure that these 2 wrestlers have the opportunity to compete in this major accomplishment in their life. And it's a huge honor for them. And it's something that they will never, ever forget. I remember doing this when I was a kid, and it's kind of, life altering when you think about how much it changes and shapes And not to mention that sports is actually a pathway to get into. Many of these kids will be getting scholarships. So I just want to keep pressing that point. So I definitely wanted to say a major thank you to the district for making sure that it happened. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Clerk Coffee.
So yeah, big kudos to the wrestling team. Lots of support there. And there's also a lot of other sports that are happening right now. Spring season, spring is in the air. Got one on the track team, so I'm curious, how's that gonna work? And I got one in baseball. How's that gonna work? I don't even know, but making it happen. But on another note, I am excited for Read Across America next week and being in the schools and reading as you did today, doing some of that next week as well. I'll be at Riverbank on Monday. Ms. Rodriguez left. It's okay. I was gonna tell her, I'll see you on Monday for sure. Actually, I'll see you tomorrow. Coffee with the principal. And then, let's see, other than that, working on, I definitely met with some parents in regards to some of their concerns and issues. So I'm really happy to hear that you're going to follow up and get find out what's going on, because it was a very long discussion and a lot of things that were very surprising. So I'm happy to hear that. Other than that, just happy it's spring. Kind of sad that it's snowing, but it's okay. But all is good. That's all.
Okay, Vice President Wong.
Thanks. Something has been weighing on me since the public comment. I just want to say that I am so proud and grateful for staff who stand up for our LGBTQ students. As you know, I have my own personal story about the struggles that our students are facing or have faced in WSD. And so grateful for those who create the legally required safe environments for our students to be who they need to be, and having those conversations, because it's just, as you all know, has been weighing on me for quite some time. We can always do better in terms of educating our community and creating more allyship. So I just wanted to kind of make that note, because my kid is normal. I'm a woman of faith. I am a Christian. And to infer that my child isn't normal is heartbreaking. And we just need to better educate folks as to why these laws exist, so that our responsibility isn't just the 3 R's. It is to build good character, good community, good citizens who are inclusive and loving of their neighbors. I just had to get that off my chest. I also wanted to just celebrate the Bright Culinary Academy on their pancake breakfast, which I know a lot of people attended, and just so heartwarming to see the love of community. I know each and every single one of us on our board does that, and just really being able to see the love and support of one another it lifted my spirits. I also wanted to let folks know that on March 8th, that there are several, I think a lot of there's going to be a Yellow Empower Her meant, being a focus for female leadership for students in grades 6 through 12. I know that Dr. Hildreth is in communication with UC Davis and a few other folks about that. So not sure if that was talked about last time. I would love if there are trustees. Of course, all our male allies are always welcome, but it really is President Kirby Gonzalez, Vice Clerk Coffee, if you're free on March 8th. That is just an event that several other female trustees in Yolo County are trying to put together and lift up lift up female empowerment for our students on the UC Davis campus. And lastly, I'm excited and looking forward to a conversation that I am having with Dr. Hildreth and city staff tomorrow, as well as Councilwoman Dante Early West about what does affordable housing look like for our staff and other and city staff. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Affordable housing, is that what you're saying? Not on a 2x2, but on a separate, I'm just making sure I understand.
I think yes. What the options, yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. And thank you for your comments, Vice President Wong. I do think it's hard not to react, and it's hard not to be able to speak during public comment and respond back when things come up. And I want to value add to your pieces that on the beginning of our agenda, it says clearly, our piece 3 as a school community, our commitment to equity will be achieved by, and I want to call out one in particular, which is ensuring that all students, staff, and families are valued, accepted, and supported through embracing and celebrating their individual uniqueness. And all of the words that were chosen were very deliberate and very strategic in supporting our students. And we know that our unity clubs that go on throughout the district that are supported by our staff, but that are student-led and student-developed. There is no indoctrinating going on in this district, but that we know that we have to abide by federal laws that protect our LGBTQ students' rights, and they do have First and 14th Amendment rights, equal access, and Title IX. And so as we educate and communicate with our families, it is important to note those pieces as well. And unfortunately, there's not an easy way to always address that within our meetings, given the constraints. So I appreciate the follow-up as well with that. I wanted to also speak to the 8th grade parent night that you brought up. We have a lot of families right now that are thinking about what's happening with high school, and we do have families that we know that look outside the district as well. And so this was a really important time right now to be having that moment to bring our families on for 8th grade parent night. And I just saw so many great things, all the clubs, all the pathways. And I just am really, really appreciative of that, because our families have been asking for that and they've missed it. And it's a really great way to connect and have the high school not feel so scary, before you go there, and take some of the, demystify it a little bit. I also wanted to just call out and thank Yorgos Kastanis for the staff videos that are going out that we see with our students highlighted, with our staff highlighted, that have gone through enrollment. And not only are they just really positive and a great message, but it's really nice to see our staff and not something from, taken from stock. So thank you for that. And also, as we think about celebrations, I know we've talked about our own kids, that we've brought back celebrations at schools, and the parents are excited to get back onto campus, and the kids are excited to show off their awards. And so this is the place here during these celebrations. I think we need to now get some of these kids in here and celebrate them for their sports. And not only our sports, we also have a lot of our kids in our pathways doing really great things as well. So as we look forward, if we can be thoughtful about having students recognized during this final part of the school year before we go off into summer break, and how we can honor them and celebrate them, because all of our kids, I think, can't have enough of that after some time away. And today I spent my day from 8:30 to 4:30 in my chair in front of my computer, but doing the CSBA President's Workshop. And so I appreciate that CSBA offers those pieces, and there were some really good takeaways, and it was nice to hear from other districts as well. It was a good refresher, and it always makes me appreciate this governing board and that everyone here is student-centered. And so I want to thank you for all that you do. And with that, I'll also remind us that there was a document shared with site visits, which you are welcome to and would love for you to go to. If that works for you, you can look on and see if there's any you can join. But everyone recognizes that everyone up here has jobs and we're all working, and we know that people schedules are all limited. So, okay, so that takes us to future board agenda items. And one thing, yeah, oh, sure.
I just wanted to add a quick piece because Vice President Wong and also, that comment earlier made, it's unfortunate, and I'm going to say this I believe there was good intention in the translator, the person translating, but those words were not, it was not translated that way. Like the actual message was not intentionally, a lot of those words were not, like that was not a clear translation. So by sitting on this board, that's making sure that I'm accountable and that we did not do that justice. So we failed the translation to get the message across as a board. It was, and I don't want that to be a distraction from what the parents' concerns was. But the translation, even though there was an attempt in helping each other out, that was not the translated message. Being able to be someone who understands both Spanish and English, that was not the message, just to be clear.
That's actually a fair comment. And I was wondering, since she provided us the written, could we have that translated and sent to us so we know what was actually said?
The word normal was not in the, because I took that too, and I almost felt like I could, I wanted to say something, but it was just for the again, our staff is the original comment was not translated as well as it could have.
Yeah.
I think
I appreciate that, but the fact that even the translator said, and if it was Ms. Grijalva's own words, I still find it offensive.
100%.
Agreed.
And I think, obviously, we have to be careful because this isn't agendized, but moving forward, it would be important to talk about, we offered a translation that would have been appropriate, and so what we do when that is denied, and then we'll have to have a board conversation about that in the future, because we do allow additional time for translation, and we probably should not allow that. Possibly, if we're offering a service, maybe we should do it that way. So maybe a future discussion item. Okay, speaking of future discussion items, we can talk about that in terms of translation, I think, under board governance in the future. And I do want to say that when I pulled up our board policy and I pulled up our handbook, our future agenda items on our handbook and our board policy, it does say that they are written, which we haven't been doing for a very long time, few years at least. So this is just a good note to say that as we look at our handbook and we try to be aligned with everything that we do in our practice, that do we want to go back to a place where we write it down, or are we okay just saying it? So I think when we go to our board handbook that's going to be coming up in the future, that we just revisit that.
Well, it was hard to do it written during COVID, kind of, unless you emailed everyone.
Yeah, everything changed a little bit. We all changed, but just important to notice when they're not in alignment. And members of the public can also request items on an agenda as well. Yeah. But what are your future agenda items?
I have one, and it's just under celebrations, and that is that we celebrate the wrestling team, for one, and all the other winter sports that come through. So maybe we do one next board meeting, one the following board meeting for all the winter sports, and then we can have the ability, once spring sports have come through, we have the ability to celebrate those, like league champions and accomplishments.
All right. Any other future agenda items? Nope. Okay. Well, with that, we will then adjourn our meeting and have a great rest of your night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So do you know what?
Yeah, I can tell you what